Welcome to Creating a Safer Workplace by MSC Direct, featuring the web series Nothing Stops U.S. Manufacturing. Conversations with safety professionals in the field. Here's your host, Anthony Testa.
Hi, I'm Anthony Testa, and welcome to another episode of MSC's Nothing Stops U.S. Manufacturing. And my next guest is CEO of Seek Thermal, Mike Muench. So Seek Thermal is one of those products that in manufacturing was a real niche. And now with COVID has really become mainstream. And Mike, welcome to the episode. I appreciate you taking the time.
Great, Anthony. Great to be here and talking about one of my favorite topics.
So thermal imaging, right? So people think it is high tech and it's kind of, new age. Explain to me and the folks, what is it? How does it work? How was it developed?
Well, thermal imaging from a technology standpoint is simply the ability to see heat. So, our eyes are kind of set up to be able to see light, but actually thermal imaging is just looking at a different part of the spectrum, seeing what your eyes can't see, which is the energy that's associated generally with heat. And so when you're looking at a thermal image, you basically look at differences in temperatures as opposed to differences in light reflection. And so the technology originated, Anthony, in the defense space originally, because this was very expensive technology. Originally, much like computers, if you think back to the old days of mainframe computers when you had big rooms with air conditions and coolers and all these kinds of things. Well, that's where this technology started too. And eventually it got to the place where it became viable to be in the commercial space instead of just the military space. And so you still saw very expensive applications, but nevertheless, applications in the commercial space. And so that's really what Seek Thermal was founded on, was really the mission to, provide thermal imaging everywhere, make it a part of everyday life.
So Mike, give us a little bit, for people who don't know Seek, give us a little bit of what your portfolio looks like as a company.
We make smartphone attachments that basically allow you to turn your smartphone into a thermal imager and use the screen on the smartphone to be able to basically function like a thermal camera. We also offer handheld, self-contained thermal imagers that have their own screen and camera built into them. And of course, we have the SeekScan product, which is our offering in the thermal scanning space.
How were you able to pivot your company and really now focus on the technology and the products that you're bringing to life every day?
Well, I think if you looked at our operating plan for starting 2020, you probably wouldn't have seen anything on there about, You're
not the only CEO who's told us that.
Pandemic or thermal scanning for that. Right. We didn't have either one of those on our radar. But honestly, Anthony, in terms of fitting into the mission of the company, this is a technology that's going to help people, keep people safe, that's going to help make their jobs better. And from that standpoint, SeekScan easily fit into our mission. So it wasn't a big pivot from the company standpoint.
MSC as an organization has standardized to the SeekScan. I walk in my office every day. I walk up, beeps.
Yep.
Our security guard, John, says, "Yep, you're good, Anthony. Have a great day." And then I go. But what is he looking at when he says to me, because I don't know it, all right? I'm good. I just got beeped in. So what is he looking at and how is he logging?
Yeah. So what you generally are presented with is a visible image of the person that's being looked at, then a thermal image of that person, which is basically the same view, except it's a thermal view as opposed to a visible view. And really what the system's very quickly doing is it's looking at all of the heat references on your face. And generally speaking, just like a forehead thermometer, when you point that forehead thermometer at your forehead that we've all probably experienced at this point entering into a facility, the advantage of the SeekScan, of course, is it's looking at all of the different points on your face, finding the warmest spot on your face, and then reporting that as a proxy for your body temperature. So we have a threshold that the user can set, and that threshold basically looks at the skin temperature that you have, compares it to that threshold, and either gives you a pass-fail, which is what your operator is seeing when he says, go ahead and go on through. So if you have a facility where there are multiple locations, multiple cameras at those entrances, you may want the ability to be able to say, hey, when an alarm does go off, then I want to actually take the next step. Because remember, in any type of thermal scanning, just because you trigger the alarm doesn't necessarily mean you have the virus or you even have a fever. You could have been out running. It could have been very hot out that day and you just walked in from a long walk in the sun, for example. But a lot of organizations want the ability to flag when people set off the alarm so that they can elevate and have follow-on testing to make sure it's safe for that person to enter the building.
When you were developing the Seek Scan and you had that, coming to market, were you ahead of some of the CDC guidelines, or were you working with the CDC or a member of the CDC to kind of like keep up, or were you pulling them and saying, guys, hey, check this out. Look what we have. We could do this.
When it comes to what our product should do, we actually relied more on the FDA. The FDA does have some products that are thermal scanning products that have been gone through the registration process and been FDA approved. The most important thing you can do is have something in the picture that the camera knows absolutely what the temperature of that is. Because once it can fix on that, it can then look at all the relative temperature differences of everything else it's looking at and get very good accuracy as a result. Another thing that the FDA talks about in their guidelines is to scan people one at a time, as opposed to scanning people in large groups. So one of the design points of our product was that it's what we call a stop and scan system, as opposed to a walk-by system. Some of the more expensive systems are very convenient to be able to provide walk-by capabilities. And you need pretty powerful cameras to be able to do that because of the distance that you're typically looking at to do that. However, that actually, the walk-by systems aren't always following the guidelines that are given by the FDA.
One of the key pieces where when people make an investment, right, in this, let's call this an investment. It's again, it's not $10, but it's up there. When you're making that investment, they're looking for reliability, they're looking for longevity, they're looking for those updates. What has that Seek Scan brought to market that is different from the competition?
So number one, does the company have a history of understanding how to build, maintain, and calibrate? Secondly, because we've been putting these cameras in the market for 6 or 7 years now, we also know how reliable those cameras are, because it's the same underlying technology that we've been putting into our products since day one. So we know our products have withheld the test of time. We know what the reliability of those products are, and we know how to test in the factory and ensure the quality of those products going out. I think should give customers good confidence that Seek's one of the brands that you can really count on in this space.
And then from a manufacturing, Seek is manufactured here in the States for the most part?
Yeah, so everything from our sensor to the cameras that go inside of our Seek Scan products to the Seek Scan products themselves are all 100% manufactured here and assembled here in the US. And we have specifically developed rapid response for service replacements. If the thing that's allowing your people to come to work and feel safe every day is down for a day, you have to have rapid response, and we've put that in place.
Where do you see this going? What's the future? Where is, we're not allowed, there's no fans at sporting events, there's no audience for concerts, there's no concerts, right? So where is this technology going, and what is Seek doing? Give us a little bit behind that curtain look of what's next.
I think longer term, what you're going to see is that as people get more comfortable with thermal scanning as yet another sort of defense layer, you're going to see thermal scanning become something that is more ubiquitous, like metal detectors are. There was a time that I can remember where I
Right.
would go to a concert or go to an airport and I didn't go through a metal detector. Today, when I go to a football game or I go to a concert or in some cases I go to the courthouse, I walk through a metal detector and don't even think twice about it.
Yep.
I think what you'll find is over time, thermal will be integrated into these types of systems, whether it's bolted on or literally integrated as a component into these systems, where taking your temperature will just be part of the hygiene of safety. And I think people are realizing that elevated body temperature, like many of these other things, is just something that we should have as part of our arsenal. And it's coming from somebody who's had the experience of being a trusted provider of this type of equipment for many years. Somebody who's sold over 500,000 cameras and sensors and counting. So we continue to grow that. And made by a company that's got its roots here in America. We do all of our manufacturing here in America. And we think that'll be a strong selling point for you and your team as well.
Hey, Mike, I want to thank you very much for joining me today. This was a great interview. I appreciate all the insights about the company and about your experiences. And this has been really, really good. And I appreciate the time.
Follow us at mscdirect.com for future episodes and more information on operating in our new normal.